The Supreme Court allows the Trump administration to ban people who are transgender from serving in the military. President Trump signed an order to enforce the ban when he took office. Then Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a policy giving military service members 30 days to figure out how to remove people who are transgender from the military. The Supreme Court blocked an order from a lower court which temporarily paused the ban from taking effect.
Joining us now, our Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, to talk about this issue. And Khalif, the one thing that I wanted to ask about that's kind of concerning, they say that this removal can take place even while the rest of the process plays out.
Yeah, that's normal and not normal for it. Let me say this. This is an emergency response from the Supreme Court, so there was no opinion on either the dissenters or the folks that agreed. So we don't know why they ruled that way. They could have ruled on the merits, or they could have ruled procedurally. No one knows. But what I can say is, typically, if there's a law that's implemented or some type of executive order, and then you have someone that goes and try to get an injunction, that's what happened. A lower court gave an injunction, paused it, and stopped it. So now the Supreme Court steps in and say, hey, we'll give it an emergency basis to lift that ban and allow it to go forward even while we continue. And so it goes against what happened in the lower court, basically saying there will be irreparable harm, which money can't fix. If you're going to remove a service member that's been serving as the one person for 20 plus years, has decorated career, and now you're going to remove this individual because they fall under this category, so now there will be harm that money can't fix. And so it's kind of like a mixed signal that the courts are sending, but you have to listen to what the Supreme Court says. They are the highest court in the land. And so while they have an opportunity to review the merits of this case, they will allow this ban to go into effect.
And while this isn't the final ruling on this case, you had mentioned something that the people's could see some damages, whether to their reputation or to their career. So does this open up for even more lawsuits to come under it of people seeking monetary damage for being removed from their position?
100%. I mean, and I wish the court would have went through the analysis of why and told us why they made this decision. But if I'm looking at this, they made the belief that there would be not irreparable harm, that there was something where money could fix this. And so to your question, then yes, that would be an opportunity for someone to sue. If you lost your job, we can give you back pay, right? That's one monetary component, but it's outside of that. If you've lost your job, you've also lost your reputation. You've been doing this for 20 plus years. You've lost a number of things that are connected to them that dollars don't give back. And so I would assume that's the argument they made in the lower court. The lower court bought that. The Supreme Court said, look, while we figure this out, we're going to allow this to go forward. And the only reason they would do that is likelihood of success on the merits. They don't believe it's there, in the irreparable harm. They believe money can fix that. Those are the two. That balancing of the equities in the other portion is something that I think would take a longer analysis in the public policy, something that would take analysis, because this is a four-pronged test. Those two are pretty easy. Can you pay money or can you not? Do you think they will be successful going down the road? Pretty easy to figure this portion out. And a lot of this stuff is not new. If I'm being clear, Hegseth said this before he was the secretary. He mentioned this a number of times. This was one of his first things that he wanted to do when he got in there, that we needed to remove transgender folks from the military. And I mean, he says, his quote before the Supreme Court announces yesterday, no more trans in the Department of Defense. The department is leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns. No more dudes in dresses. These are the things that are coming from the leader of the Department of Defense. So you can expect that if this is what he's texting and tweeting, that anyone that's serving there, they're already going to have a very hostile environment to work in if you're in that category now.
But Khalif, when we look at this and you're talking about this lawsuit, one of the things that the Supreme Court didn't address is how will they be identified? I know that was one of the things that people were talking about. How will the defense go about identifying some of those military people they're taking out? So should that have been in this lawsuit, or will that just open up another lawsuit when people start saying this is, I'm not sure people are coming out saying, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and step down from my position.
Yeah, I mean, I would think there's probably some of that happening where they feel like, okay, I'm pushed out. I don't want to hide anymore. I think if this would have been in the 70s or the 80s, there probably would have been more hiding. But folks are now like, listen, this is who I am. Either you're going to accept me or you aren't. And then I will go on in the back end and sue for what I believe is an equal protection violation, because this is a protected class. Just like race, age, and sex and anything else, my sexual identity is protected. And because it's protected, if you're discriminating against me based on that alone, then I have some type of recourse to be able to go after you. But I mean, it goes back to some of the core principles that I was talking about earlier, that these are the things that are fundamental to us, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So if we're assuming that they meant men and women, right, that the courts have now allowed it to mean men and women, so now are we not saying that everyone is equal? Because if this individual, if we're searching and looking for folks that are different, and now somehow different is less, then they're obviously not equal, because these people that were already doing their jobs now legally can't do their jobs because of these directives that are coming from the administration. And so it will cost our government more to go out and do any of these things that we're talking about, because there will be pending litigation, because there's a violation that's specifically directed at them only because they are transgender.
So much more to come after this emergency ruling from the
There'll
Supreme
be lawsuits
Court.
on top of lawsuits throughout this entire administration, but this right here is one that it seems pretty clear that if you're targeting me just based on me being transgender, yes, I have recourse.
All right. Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes, thank you very much for breaking that down.